If God is completely sovereign, which means he rules over all, he's all powerful and all wise, he's in control of all things, he's completely sovereign, he's in control of the future, he's in control of these things, why should I pray? What would that really change? Anybody ever ask that question? Why should I pray? And some people will try to be really spiritual and say, well, you pray because it changes you, which is true, that's part of it. But that's not the vision God has given for prayer. He showed it changes so many things. It changes things. It changes so many things. You say, well, why bother if God already knows what he's going to do? That's kind of an attitude of a fatalist. A fatalist is one who says you can't change anything in the future, that it's just destiny. It is what it is. A lot of religions have a word for this. Islam has a big one. It's called inshallah, which means it's the will of Allah. Whatever happens, it's always the will of Allah. And even secular scientists believe in this idea that you are just a product of your nature, that you really can't do anything outside of this. That you're a product of natural choice, that you're really not responsible for your actions. Everything's determined. You really don't do much. But yet when we look into the scriptures, when we look into life, God has given us a will. He's given us a freedom. He's called us, and we can respond to him. We can obey or disobey. We can love him or hate him. We can choose to follow him or choose to reject him. He's given us a will. He's given us choices to make. He's given us things to be able to do. We can step out on faith or we can live in fear. There's things that we get to do. All right, we see this all throughout it. And prayer is one of these means that God in his sovereign will, God in his control and his power has set up to change things. C.S. Lewis put it a little bit like this. Here's what C.S. Lewis says. To say you don't need to pray because God controls and rules over everything is ridiculous. It's like saying I don't need to take medicine when I'm sick. I don't need to look for a spouse. And I don't need to work for a living because God has just really determined all these things. God uses the means to accomplish these outcomes in our lives. But he uses these things. Prayer is a means by God and his plan to accomplish his purposes. And some of you might say, well, what happens if I don't pray? What happens if I don't pray? Well, James tells us you don't have because you don't ask. That's what happens. And sometimes God wants us to ask. He wants us to have this relationship. The way that he set up this world, the way that he's put prayer, he wants us to be seeking him, calling on him, fasting and praying and pursuing him for his glory and his purposes.